A Thai love story. Willing to give everything. Chapter 1. The beginning. In the bustling streets of Bangkok, where the scent of street food mingles with the exhaust from countless motorbikes, lived a young man named Kaman. At 25, he worked as a security guard at a high-end shopping mall, earning just enough to send money home to his elderly parents in Isan and keep himself fed. His uniform was always pressed, his smile genuine, and his heart full of dreams that seemed impossibly distant. It was during one of those sweltering Bangkok afternoons when the air conditioning couldn't quite defeat the heat that he first saw her. Ploy emerged from a luxury car, her driver holding the door as she stepped out in an elegant cream-colored dress that probably cost more than Kaman's monthly salary. But it wasn't her expensive clothes or the way people seemed to part for her that caught his attention. It was the gentleness in her eyes when she thanked her driver, the way she noticed the elderly janitor struggling with a heavy cart and quietly helped him. Ploy was the daughter of a prominent businessman who owned several hotels across Thailand. At 23, she had everything money could buy: the best education, designer clothes, a luxury condo overlooking the Chao Phraya River, but she felt hollow inside. Her days were filled with charity galas where wealthy people wrote checks to feel better about themselves, business meetings where she was expected to smile and stay quiet, and endless introductions to suitable young men from prominent families. Their first real conversation happened 3 weeks after Kaman first noticed her. Ploy had been coming to the mall regularly, always finding excuses to linger near the information desk where Kaman was stationed. That afternoon, a foreign tourist was frantically trying to communicate about a lost child, and Ploy watched as Kaman patiently used his limited English, gestures, and even a translation app to help reunite the family. "Your English is quite good," Ploy said afterward, speaking in Thai with a slight Central Thai accent that revealed her privileged upbringing. Kaman looked up, surprised. "Kun Ploy, right? I've seen you here before." "Not really good. I'm still learning. YouTube University," he said with a self-deprecating laugh. "May I ask why you're learning?" "I want to understand the world better. Maybe someday I can help more people, or I don't know. Dreams are free, right?" That simple honesty struck something deep in Ploy's heart. Here was someone who learned not for status or money, but simply to be more helpful to others. Chapter 2. Growing Closer. Over the following months, Ploy found herself visiting the mall more frequently. She would time her visits to coincide with Kaman's shifts, always finding small reasons to stop by the information desk. Sometimes she would ask about store locations she already knew. Other times she would simply sit in the nearby cafe pretending to read while watching him work. Kaman noticed, of course. How could he not? But he assumed someone like Ploy was just being polite. After all, what could a service guard possibly offer someone who seemed to live in a completely different world? Their friendship developed slowly, built on small conversations and shared observations about the people who passed through the mall. Ploy began to see Bangkok through Kamon's eyes. He noticed the young mother who counted coins carefully before buying her child a toy, the elderly man who came to the mall just for the air conditioning and company, the migrant workers who sent most of their earnings home to their families. "You see people differently than most," Ploy observed one evening as they sat in the mall's food court after closing time. Kaman had permission to stay late for his English study sessions, and Ploy had convinced her driver to wait. "Maybe because I am people," Kaman replied simply. "Not above them or below them, just people." One rainy evening, Ploy's car broke down outside the mall. Her driver was trying to arrange for another vehicle, but it would take hours. Kaman offered to help her get home on his motorcycle. "I don't think that's appropriate," Ploy said, though her voice lacked conviction. "It's just rain. Come said, offering her his spare helmet, and I promise to drive carefully. That 15-minute ride through Bangkok's rain-soaked streets changed everything. Ploy's arms wrapped around Kamon's waist, her cheek pressed against his back, feeling his warmth through his uniform shirt. For the first time in years, she felt truly safe and genuinely happy. Chapter 3. The First I Love You. 3 months into their friendship, Ploy realized she was in love. Not the calculated affection she was supposed to feel for suitable suitors, but something raw and honest that made her feel more alive than she had ever been. The realization came during one of their evening conversations. Kamon was telling her about a letter he'd received from his mother describing how the rice crop was doing well this year. "I send most of my salary home," he said without shame. "My parents worked so hard to give me a chance at a better life. Now it's my turn to take care of them." "Don't you want things for yourself?" Ploy asked. "I want many things," Kamon admitted. "I want to build a house for my parents so they don't have to worry about rent. I want to learn more languages. I want to travel someday and see how other people live. I want—" He paused, looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "I want to be worthy of the people I care about." "You already are," Ploy said softly. That night, lying in her expensive bed in her luxury condo, Ploy stared at the ceiling and whispered to herself, "I love him." The words felt both terrifying and liberating. For Kamon, the realization came differently. He had been in love with Ploy for weeks, but had pushed the feelings down, believing them to be impossible. A service guard loving a businessman's daughter? It was like a servant falling in love with a princess in the old stories his grandmother used to tell him. But love, Kamon learned, doesn't ask permission. Chapter 4. Secret Meetings. As their relationship deepened, they began meeting outside the mom. Kamon would take Ploy to places she had never seen. Local markets where vendors knew him by name. Small temples tucked away in Bangkok's back streets. Street food stalls where a complete meal cost less than what she usually spent on coffee. "This is the real Bangkok," Kamon would say, and Ploy began to understand that she had been living in a bubble her entire life. In return, Ploy would sometimes take Kamon to places he had only seen from the outside: art galleries, upscale restaurants, cultural events. But she quickly learned that these places made him uncomfortable. Not because he felt inferior, but because he felt the experiences were hollow. "Everyone here is performing," he observed after a charity gala where Ploy had convinced him to be her friend for the evening. "They care more about being seen caring than actually caring." Their happiest times were the simplest ones. Sitting by the Chao Phraya River at sunset, sharing som tom from a street vendor, talking about their dreams and fears. Ploy told him about the pressure to marry someone from a good family, about feeling like a decoration in her father's business empire. Kamon shared his dreams of someday owning a small business, of being able to provide for his parents without constantly worrying about money. "I don't want to just work for money," he told her one evening as they watched the river traffic. "I want to build something real, something that lasts. Land, maybe, or gold. Things that have real value, not just numbers in a bank account." "Why not stocks?" Ploy asked. Her father had taught her about investments from a young age. "Maybe," Kamon said thoughtfully, "but I want to understand what I'm investing in. I want to own things I can see, touch, understand." Chapter 5. The Family's Expectations. As their relationship grew stronger, the pressure from both their families intensified, though for different reasons. Ploy's father, Kun Chai, had been introducing her to potential suitors with increasing frequency. Young men from wealthy families, heirs to business empires, politicians' sons, all of them perfectly suitable on paper and utterly wrong for her heart. "Ploy, you're 23. her father said during one of their weekly dinners. "It's time to think seriously about your future. Kun Thanat's son is very interested in you. He's Harvard-educated, speaks 3 languages, and will inherit the family's textile business." "What about what I want, Papa?" Ploy asked quietly. "What you want will change when you have children to think about, when you understand the responsibilities that come with our position in society. Love is a luxury, dear. Security is a necessity." Meanwhile, Kaman's parents had been asking when he would find a nice girl from their village to marry. His mother, May Seri, had been sending him photos of young women from Isan, good girls from farming families, who would make practical wives. "Son, you're 25 now," his father said during one of their weekly phone calls. "Your mother and I won't live forever. We want to see you settled, with a wife who understands our ways." "I'm not ready yet, Papa," Kaman would reply, his heart heavy with the weight of expectations and the impossibility of his situation. The crisis came 6 months after they first met. Ploy's father discovered her relationship with Kaman through a private investigator he had hired to ensure her safety. The confrontation was swift and brutal. A security guard. Kun Chai's voice was cold with disbelief and anger. "You're risking everything our family has built for a security guard?" "I'm not risking anything, Papa. I'm choosing happiness." "Happiness?" He laughed harshly. "Do you think happiness will pay for your children's education? Will it maintain your social position? Will it provide for you when you're old? Kaman is a good man. He's kind, honest, hardworking. So are thousands of other men who are more suitable for you. This stops now. I won't have you destroying your life for some romantic fantasy." Kun Chai arranged for Ploy to be sent to the family's hotel in Chiang Mai, ostensibly to learn the business, but really to separate her from Kaman. He also made sure that Kaman would face consequences for taking advantage of his daughter. The next day, Kaman was called into his supervisor's office and fired. No explanation, no severance pay, just a dismissal that would make it difficult for him to find another security job in Bangkok. Chapter 7. Separation and Reflection. Ploy spent 3 months in Chiang Mai, going through the motions of learning hotel management while her heart remained in Bangkok. She was surrounded by beautiful mountains, luxury accommodations, and concerned family members, but she felt more alone. Her aunt, Kun Mali, who managed the Chiang Mai property, tried to understand her niece's sadness. "Tell me about him," she said one evening as they sat on the hotel's terrace overlooking the city lights. "He sees me," Ploy said simply. "Not my father's money, not my family's name, not what I can do for his social position. He sees me, who I really am, and he loves that person." "And you love him?" "More than I thought it was possible to love anyone." Kun Mali, who had married for love 30 years earlier despite family opposition, understood. "Love like that is rare, dear, but it's also difficult. Are you prepared for what choosing him might cost you?" "I'm prepared for anything except a life without him." Meanwhile, in Bangkok, Kamon was struggling. Without his security job, he couldn't send money home to his parents. He took whatever work he could find: construction during the day, food delivery at night, anything to keep himself afloat. But instead of becoming bitter, the hardship clarified his thinking. He realized that he had been living paycheck to paycheck, always dependent on others for his livelihood. If he wanted to build a life worthy of Ploy, he needed to think differently about money and security. Using his savings and a small loan from a friend, Kamon started a small business delivering food to construction sites. It was hard work, but it was his work. Every baht he earned went toward building something real. First, he paid back his loan. Then he started buying small amounts of gold, then a tiny plot of land in his home province. Property, gold, stocks and companies I understand, he told himself, remembering their conversation by the river. Real things, not just numbers in a bank account. Chapter 8. The Return. After 3 months, Ploy returned to Bangkok with a plan. She had learned everything she could about hotel management and had convinced her father to let her help expand the family business. But her real goal was to prove that she could be valuable to the family empire while still choosing her own path in love. She found Kamon changed. He was leaner from the hard work, his hands rougher, but his eyes held a new confidence. He had moved to a smaller apartment, but owned a motorcycle, a small truck for his business, and had the beginnings of a real investment portfolio. "I thought you might have forgotten about me," he said when she appeared at his food stall one evening. "How could I forget the person who taught me how to see the world?" They talked through the night, sharing their experiences during the separation. Ploy told him about her realization that she would never be happy living the life her parents had planned for her. Kamon shared his new understanding of financial independence and his growing business. "I'm not the same person who lost his security job. I'm building something now. It's small, but it's mine. And I'm not the same person who let her father make all her decisions. I love you, Kamon. I love you enough to fight for us." Chapter 9. Building a Life Together. Over the next year, Ploy and Kamon built their relationship on a foundation of mutual respect and shared values, rather than secret meetings and stolen moments. Ploy threw herself into expanding her family's hotel business, proving her worth and gradually earning more independence. Kamon's delivery business grew, and he started investing in rental properties and blue-chip stocks. They were careful and strategic. Ploy introduced Kamon to business concepts and connections that could help him grow his investments. Kamon taught Ploy about the value of hard work and the importance of staying connected to real people rather than just business deals. "Money isn't evil," Kamon said one evening as they reviewed his investment portfolio. "But making money the only measure of worth is evil. I want to build wealth so I can take care of the people I love and have the freedom to make choices based on what's right, not what's profitable." Ploy watched him analyze potential stock purchases with the same care he had once used to help lost tourists at the mall. He wasn't just chasing returns, he was building a foundation for a life of purpose and security. "She's not playing, Papa," Kamon replied. "She's choosing." "And what about our world? Will you abandon us for hers?" "I'll never abandon you, but I won't abandon her either. I love her, and she loves me. Real love, not the kind that comes with conditions." The pressure from both sides was enormous. Friends and extended family members all seemed to have opinions about their relationship. Some said Ploy was being foolish, throwing away her advantages for a man who could never provide for her properly. Others said Kamon was reaching above his station, trying to marry into wealth instead of working honestly. But Ploy and Kamon made a pact. They would not spend their energy trying to convince others of their love's worth. Their love belonged to them, and they would prove its value through their actions, not their words. Chapter 11. The Test. The real test came when Ploy's father made her an ultimatum. Choose between her family's wealth and inheritance or her relationship with Kimon. If she chose Kimon, she would be cut off completely. No trust fund, no inheritance, no family business position. This is your last chance to come to your senses, Kunchai said coldly. Choose wisely. Ploy looked at her father, the man who had given her everything except the freedom to choose her own happiness. I choose love, Papa. I choose Kimon. The family's reaction was swift and harsh. Ploy's credit cards were canceled, her luxury condo was sold, and she was removed from all family business operations. Overnight, she went from being a wealthy heiress to having nothing but her clothes and her education. But she also had Kimon. He welcomed her into his small apartment with open arms and a practical plan. He said, "We'll build our own life. It might be harder than what you're used to, but it will be ours." Chapter 12. Starting Over. Ploy's first months of real independence were difficult. She had to learn to budget, to shop for groceries, to live without the safety net of unlimited money. But she also discovered strengths she never knew she had. Using her hotel management experience, she got a job at a boutique hotel in Bangkok. The salary was a fraction of what she had been accustomed to, but it was earned through her own efforts. Meanwhile, Kimon's business continued to grow, and his investments were beginning to pay off. They lived simply but happily. Their small apartment was filled with laughter, their meals were often simple but shared with joy, and their dreams were built on realistic planning rather than fantasy. "Do you ever regret it?" Kimon asked her one evening as they sat on their small balcony, watching the sunset over Bangkok's skyline. "Regret choosing you? Never. I regret that it took me so long to realize that a life without love isn't really living." Chapter 13. Growing Success. As their second year together began, both Ploy and Kimon's careers were flourishing. Ploy had been promoted to assistant manager at her hotel and was developing a reputation for innovative guest services. Kimon had expanded his business to include event catering and had purchased 3 rental properties. More importantly, they had learned to work as a team. Ploy's business education helped Kimon make smarter investment decisions, while Kimon's practical wisdom helped Ploy stay grounded in reality rather than getting lost in theoretical business concepts. "We're not trying to get rich quick," Kimon explained to a friend who asked about their financial strategy. "We're building something that will last. Real estate, gold, stocks and companies that provide real value to people. Things that will still be worth something when we're old." Their approach was working. By the end of their second year together, they had built a small but solid foundation of assets that provided passive income and security. Chapter 14. Unexpected Allies. Not everyone in their families remained opposed to their relationship. Ploy's aunt Mali, who had supported her in Chiang Mai, began to see how happy and grounded her niece had become. She started visiting them in Bangkok, bringing gifts and offering quiet support. "Your father is proud and stubborn, but he's also afraid. He's afraid that if you don't follow the path he's laid out for you, you'll be hurt or disappointed. He loves you, even if he's showing it badly." Chapter 19. New Beginnings. 5 years after their first meeting, Ploy and Kimon had created a life that neither of their families had imagined possible. They owned their own home on the land Kamon had purchased, had a thriving business portfolio, and had built bridges between their different worlds. Ploy had started her own boutique hotel consulting business, helping family-owned properties improve their operations. Kamon had expanded into real estate development, focusing on affordable housing projects that served working families like the one he came from. "We're not trying to change the world," Ploy said during a magazine interview about successful young entrepreneurs. "We're trying to build a life that reflects our values and creates opportunities for others." Their success was measured not just in financial terms, but in the relationships they had rebuilt and the example they had set for others facing similar challenges. Chapter 20. The Next Generation. When Ploy became pregnant for their first child, both families were overjoyed. The prospect of a grandchild helped heal the remaining wounds from their earlier conflicts. "This child will have the best of both worlds," Kamon's mother said during a family gathering. "Education and opportunity from one side, strong values and work ethic from the other. And most importantly," added Ploy's father, "parents who love each other and know how to build something lasting together." As they prepared for parenthood, Ploy and Kamon reflected on their journey. They had faced opposition from their families, pressure from society, and the challenge of building a life that bridged two very different worlds. But they had also learned that true love provides the strength to overcome any obstacle when both people are committed to growing together. Epilogue. Full circle. 10 years after their first meeting at the mall, Ploy and Kamon stood in their beautiful home watching their two children play in the garden. The house was modest by the standards of Ploy's original social circle, but it was filled with love, laughter, and the security that comes from building something real together. Kamon's investment strategy had proven successful. They owned several rental properties, had significant gold holdings, and maintained a diversified stock portfolio focused on companies they understood and believed in. But more importantly, they had achieved the independence he had always dreamed of, the ability to make choices based on their values rather than financial pressure. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had listened to everyone else?" Ploy asked as they watched their children. "No," Kamon replied, pulling her close, "because I know what happened when we listened to our hearts. We built something beautiful." Their love story had become a quiet legend in both their families, proof that when two people truly love each other and are willing to work together, they can overcome any obstacle and build a life that honors both their hearts and their dreams. As the sun set over Bangkok in the distance, Ploy and Kamon smiled at each other with the contentment of people who had chosen love over convention, work over wealth, and building together over standing apart. Their story was proof that with enough love, patience, and determination, any two people can create their own version of a happy. Similarly, Kamon's parents began to see that their son's girlfriend was not the spoiled rich girl they had imagined. When Ploy visited their village in Isan, she helped with farm work, learned to cook traditional dishes, and treated everyone with genuine respect and warmth. "She's not what I expected," Kamon's mother admitted to her husband after Ploy's visit. "She works hard, she's respectful, and she makes our son happy. Maybe we judged too quickly." Chapter 15. The Proposal. 3 years after they first met, Kamon decided it was time to propose, but he wanted to do it in a way that honored both their love and their journey together. He had been saving money for months, not for an expensive ring, but for a small piece of land in a beautiful area outside Bangkok where they could eventually build a home. He had also purchased a modest gold necklace, handcrafted by a local artisan. "I don't have a diamond ring," he told Ploy as they sat by the river where they had shared so many conversations, "but I have something better. I have a future I want to build with you." He showed her the land deed and the necklace. "This land is ours if you want it. We can build a home here, start a family, create something beautiful. And this necklace represents my promise to always choose you, to always work for us, to always love you with everything I have." Ploy's tears came immediately. "It's perfect," she whispered. "It's us." Chapter 16, Wedding Planning. Planning their wedding became an exercise in diplomacy and compromise. Both families were slowly beginning to accept their relationship, but there were still tensions and hurt feelings to navigate. Ploy's father, after 3 years of watching his daughter thrive rather than suffer, had begun to soften his stance. He still didn't approve of Kaman, but he could see that Ploy was genuinely happy and successful. "I want to attend your wedding," he told Ploy during one of their carefully neutral monthly dinners. "I may not understand your choice, but I understand that you've made it." Kaman's parents, having gotten to know Ploy over multiple visits, had warmed to her considerably. They appreciated her respect for their traditions and her genuine care for their son. The wedding itself was a beautiful blend of traditions. They held the ceremony at a temple in Bangkok, followed by a reception that included both street food, honoring Kaman's background, and elegant presentations, honoring Ploy's upbringing. The guest list included construction workers and hotel executives, farmers and business owners, all celebrating love that had overcome social barriers. Chapter 17, Married Life. The first year of marriage brought new challenges and deeper joy. Ploy and Kaman had to learn to merge their different approaches to life while maintaining their individual identities. Ploy was promoted to hotel manager, while Kaman expanded his business into property management. They were both earning good money, but more importantly, they were building wealth through smart investments and careful planning. "We're not trying to compete with your father's wealth," Kaman told Ploy one evening as they reviewed their financial progress. "We're trying to build our own version of security and success." Their investment strategy was paying off. The rental properties provided steady income, their gold holdings had appreciated significantly, and their carefully chosen stocks were performing well. They were building the kind of financial independence that would allow them to make choices based on their values rather than financial pressure. Chapter 18, Family Reconciliation. The breakthrough with Ploy's family came when Kunchai fell ill with a heart condition. Despite their estrangement, Ploy immediately took leave from her job to help care for him. Kaman supported her decision completely, even though it meant financial sacrifice for them. "Family is family," he said simply. "We do what's right, regardless of how we've been treated." During Kunchai's recovery, he had time to observe his daughter and son-in-law. He watched how Kaman cared for Ploy, how he respectfully helped around the house, how he spoke about his business and investments with intelligence and integrity. "I may have been wrong about you," he told Kaman at one afternoon as they sat in the hospital waiting room. "I thought you were after her money, but you've built your own success. I thought you would make her unhappy, but she's more vibrant than I've ever seen her." "I love her, Kunchai," he replied quietly. "I have from the beginning. Everything else we've built together."